Saturn in conjunct Chiron in a natal chart. Now, some of you may remember, when I first started my YouTube astrology channel, I did a series on the aspects in a natal chart. They're a little bit concise. Some people may prefer to snappy. So what I decided to do is make another series on them, in which the videos would be a little bit longer and more descriptive. So anyway, first thing up is if you have Saturn in conjunct Chiron in a natal chart, an adjustment, which is the inconjunct, may be needed between activities associated with the career and work, which is Saturn, and helping and healing others, which is Chiron. One or the other may be overemphasized. The key is to find the balance, the equilibrium, and the harmony with the energy. When you have inconjuncts in astrology, they can often be about vacillation and distortion of energy. It can be too much or too little of something. In this case, you may be dominated by matters pertaining to career and work, again, which is Saturn, to the expense of helping and healing others, or vice versa. Helping and healing others may monopolize your time and energy to the expense of matters that need to be tended to that are related to the career and work that you do, again, which is Saturn. Now, if you have Saturn in Taurus as an example, the career and work you do may be done in a very plodding, deliberate, methodical manner. It may be associated with something Taurus related, which would include geology, carpet laying, finance, banking, art, music, agriculture, cultivation, gardening, as some examples. And also, too, another way Saturn in conjunct Chiron may manifest in a natal chart is that there may be an imbalance, which is the inconjunct, between activities associated with the father, which is Saturn, and healers, which is Chiron. You may be dominated by one or the other. You may be dominated by activities associated with the father, which could be to the expense of those with healers, or it could be the other way around. There may be so much involvement with people that are healers, such as like physicians, as an example, to the point where the father may be taking a back seat, to some degree. So again, the key is to find, the balance, the equilibrium and the harmony with the energy we were talking about in conjunct aspects in astrology. So the thing is, now let's say, if you have Saturn in Aries as an example, the father may actually be an Aries sun or ascendant person, or simply embody the characteristics of the sign. It could be somebody that's aggressive, assertive, forceful, combative, courageous, abrupt, pioneering, but can be impulsive and impetuous as well. Now, another thing about Saturn in conjunct Chiron in the natal chart is that there may be too much or too little concentration, which is Saturn, on helping and healing others, which is Chiron. There could be times where you put a lot of concentration on helping and healing others, and other times you may just simply be very apathetic regarding these matters. So let's say, if Chiron is in Virgo as an example, you may help and heal others, through either helping them in analytical ability, being able to see the fine print and things. It could be matters pertaining to one's employment, health. It may be, in matters, with maybe something with editing, as some examples, or organization, whether it be the person's life, like their home, whatever it might be, as some examples. Now, another thing, too, is that the father, older people, and authority figures, which is Saturn, may either be extremely beneficial or apathetic in matters pertaining to emotional and physical related wounds, which is Chiron. So there may be times where these people are very helpful in those matters, and other times, they may not necessarily exacerbate those issues, but they just may be be turning, basically being oblivious to those matters and no help whatsoever. So you have a lot of, the vacillation and fluctuation of energy, again, when we're talking about inconjunct aspects in astrology. So the thing about this is, if you have, say, if Chiron is in the zodiac sign Cancer, as an example, there may be physical related ones associated with the chest, the breast, the stomach, or ribs. Now, if you have, as far as emotional related ones, they could be associated with the home, with family matters pertaining to safety, security, protection, maybe not even having that, the introversion that you really want to in your life. Maybe it's matters pertaining to the expression of unconditional love, and it could be whether it's receiving it or expressing it, as some examples. And another thing too is that in some cases you could have where the physical wounds, which is Chiron, may at times have a very adverse effect on matters pertaining to the career, business, social status, and responsibilities, which is Saturn. Then there may be times where there's no effect whatsoever on this, because again, you have a lot of fluctuation of energy with the inconjunct aspect. Now, let's say, if the Chiron is in Libra, as an example, there may be physical related issues associated with the lower back, the kidneys, the endocrine system, as an example. If you have, let's say, Chiron in Capricorn as another example, there may be physical related issues with the knees, the bones, the joints, the hamstrings, or the gallbladder, as another example. And the thing about this is too, Saturn in conjunct Chiron may also be expressed in either easily showing, you may either easily show consistency and discipline, which is Saturn, in dealing with the deepest wound, which is Chiron. And then there may be other times where you have tremendous difficulty in doing so. So, let's say, if Chiron, is in Scorpio, as an example, the deepest wound may be tied in with simply, having issues making a major change or transformation. It could be something dealing with crisis. It could be a sexual related matter. It might be, something, maybe there's, the difficulty in expressing the passion, the desire, the emotional intensity in something. It could be a matter pertaining to death, in one's life, or whether it would be, a literal or figurative one. Also, too, Saturn-related people may either be exceptionally advantageous or even very detrimental in dealing with issues associated with depleted self-esteem, which is Chiron. So there can be times where Saturn-related people may either be very helpful in those matters, and other times none whatsoever. Saturn-related people, of course, can include mentors, teachers, the father, older people, authority figures, those connected with management. It could be people in Saturn professions, whether it's accountants or dentists, or as some examples. Now, if Chiron is in Gemini, as an example, there may be depleted self-esteem, just connected with maybe there's issues with diversifying or expressing versatility, or there may be issues with cerebral or something intellectual ability to articulate things. And keep in mind, too, if Chiron is retrograde, the suffering one may endure may be more internalized and suppressed, and there may be more of an emphasis on self-healing, in contrast to just healing others when Chiron is direct in a natal chart. Now, say if Chiron is in Leo, as an example, there may be As far as physical related issues, there may be issues in the heart, the spine, or the upper back that the person may try to tend to on their own, rather as far as self-healing in contrast to getting the healing from others. Or it could be on an emotional level. If Chiron is only emotional related means of suffering, it could be due to like some kind of lack of attention or not being lauded and praised for efforts and not getting the accolades and the recognition for things. So as an example. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edward would say, stay well.